Waking up in a dark house, now looking like a malnourished boy, Haruto is confused. His memories mixed up, isn't sure if he is Haruto, a young man from Japan, or Real, a boy from the kingdom of Beltram. Suddenly some shabby-looking people reach out him, calling him Real. They tell him he passed out from illness the day before. As the people start eating it, tell him he stinks, sending an outside to take a bath, exiting the house. Or reader, remember. She used to be a 20-year-old student living in Japan before he died in an accident. Confused, he chooses to ignore her release memories, remembering he is Real, a poor boy trying to avenge his mother. In the past, he was living happily in a country house with his mother. She told him how they are immigrants, and that his father and grandfather came from a country where everyone has black hair. One day she got murdered by someone. Back in the present, for people and white hooded robes approach Real, asking him if he saw a purple-haired girl. He gets intimidated by them, but a white-haired girl among them, called Cillier, kindly introduces herself to him and asks again. When he tells Real he hasn't seen the girl, Cillier cast a spell to detect nearby magic users. She notices Rio has a lot of magic energy and an aura that nobody except him can see. Unable to find the girl, Cillier pays Real for his help with a bag of coins, and the group leaves hiding a bag of coins. Real goes back to the house he woke up in, what is suddenly Dad by masked man. Luckily the attacker's sword hits the bag of coins around his neck and stuff, stabbing him as the masked man prepares to continue. As attack time stops and Real suddenly sees a vision of a pink-haired girl touching his cheek. She teaches him how to use magic. As time continues flowing, Real remembers her router's knowledge of martial arts and punchy. The attackers stopping him casting a spell. The mysterious girl taught him. Real increases his physical abilities and becomes faster and stronger than ever. He dodges everyone the masked man's attacks and knock him out. Noticing a voice coming from a bag in the back, Real opens it and sees a scared purple-haired girl inside. She asked him to return her to the well castle, but suddenly sees a dead person beside her and faints outside. The people and white robes from before see Real carrying the girl they're looking for, called Flora. Misunderstanding that Real knew where Flora was all along, they restrain him and take him to the castle, where he will have to explain himself. Realizing he has no choice, he goes with them. Later, the royal guards inspect the house where Real was attacked, finding a single survivor before they can question him. However, a mysterious hooded figure crushes a crystal in his hand, and a survivor suddenly dies, foaming at the mouth. And dungeon beneath the royal palace, Real is treated cruelly by Charles, the vice captain of the well guard. Charles wants to make him confess for kidnapping Flora at the second princess, but Real refuses, being innocent. Charles continues beating in any way, insisting he confesses, for wakes up in our bedroom and celiac together with a pink-haired woman called Vanessa. Tell her what happened. Flora immediately asks them to take Real her back in the dungeon. Charles continues beating Rio. Entering the dungeon, Vanessa and Silly are horrified when they see how Charles is treating Rio, telling him he is innocent. After setting Real free, Cell they heals him a passage out. When Real wakes up in a bed cell, he apologizes to him, tells him the king was to thank him for rescue, and Flora. In the throne room, the king is sitting on his throne with the queen and the princesses Flora and Christina. Real was brought in with his hair cut and improper clothes having been cleaned up. As thanks for saving his daughter, the king allows Real to attend the Royal Academy primary school. One day Sally, being a teacher, introduces Rio to the other students in his class, but everyone it's fun of him for being a commoner. After school, Real visits Sally at her research labs so she can teach him how to read and write. She reveals she's only 12 years old, but is so brilliant she skipped every grade until graduation. Later, Real and his class of combat lessons, sparring with each other using wooden swords, since he remembers the martial arts he learned when he was Haruto. He is good at sword fighting. One day Rio suddenly remembers Miharu, our reduced childhood friend. Angry at himself for thinking about Hurdle's problems, he decides to forget them and keep living. Is Real 5 years later, Real gets chosen as a representative of Belcher Royal Academy in an exhibition tournament against the Royal Guards. Later it's Kelly's research lab. He tells Sylvia he wants to go on a journey outside the country after he graduates, since it is difficult for him to live here while being discriminated against. He wants to travel to his parents' homeland, the Google region. Sometime later, the exhibition tournament begins. Real comes out into the arena. His opponent turns out to be Charles, the royal guard, who tortured him 5 years ago. Charles mocks him, but Rio shakes it off. He starts sword fighting, and Real manages to parry every single one of Troll's attacks. Angry at Rio, Charles fights mercilessly that Real knocks a sword from his hands, reluctantly admitting his defeat. Trials leaves that night at his house. Charles is drinking with someone and complaining about losing to Real. His companion is an ominous blue-haired man, the ambassador of the proxy empire, when Charles's Real was there when Fleur was kidnapped. 5 years ago, the ambassador get interested. It turns out he is the same man who killed the last survivor of the incident with Fleur was kidnapped one day. Your teachers are class about magic. The first spell they learn is lighting a spell. The country's is fear of light. The students mockery Rio, saying everyone already knows how use that spell except him. You can use magical formulas like the others can, but can use a different type of magic one, which even he doesn't understand. He hides his true abilities so other people don't find him suspicious. After class, a gray-haired boy called Stuart accuses Real of seducing the female student's self-defense. Rio and Stuart aim really leaves, warning Real not to make him angry, since he is from the powerful house. If you've not, later the students take a practical test outside. They have to work in teams to reach a goal traveling through a mountain forests. Alphonse Brown. Here, boy who hates Real serves as the commander of the team, which consists of Stuart, Fleur, and Christina, among others. Stuart knows about a shortcut through the forest and they all follow his lead. He gives Real the cruel job of carrying everyone's luggage and he accepts it passively. Suddenly, the team encounters a group of goblins, increasing their physical abilities. With magic, the boys fight the goblins with their bare hands, defeating them quickly. From the shadows, the blue-haired ambassador from Proxy is observing Real, intending to test his abilities. It seems like he really has a great interest in him. Exiting the forest, the team finds themselves at the end of the path on a tall cliff. They get ambushed by huge orcs throwing spears at them. When Shur gets grazed by spear, he accidentally pushes Flora off the cliff. Luckily, Real quickly saves her, powering up, jumping down and pushing her back up on the cliff. Afterwards he falls down onto the ground. Punch gives everyone orders and the team managers to defeat the orcs. The orcs disappear and leave blue crystals behind them. Meanwhile, using magic, Real safely lands at the bottom of the cliff. Up on the cliff, Stuart gets accused of pushing Fleur off the cliff. But he lies that Real actually pushed him. Flora defends Real, but everyone else agrees with Stuart. When they continue without Real, Fleur is against it. While they're arguing, a huge minotaur with a giant axe jumps out of the forest. The team cast various spells at the minotaur and try taking and physically, but none of that hurts him. When I see nothing works, most of them run away, but Fleur stays behind to heal the end. Your student's a metaphor spots but before he can attack, Real appears and cuts off the minotaur his arm with the sword, telling Flora to escape. He continues fighting the minotaur while dodging and blocking his attack. Spotting and opening in his defense, he jumps in the air, climbs his body and cut off his head in one slash. As he is defeated, he disappears, leaving a large blue crystal behind. Real runs away so the rest of the students don't see him. The blue-haired man observes him, impressed by his abilities. He calls them spirit magic. Have Belcher Real economy, he overhears a conversation about Real, who is thought to have went missing. Cuba, not who's Stuart's father, decides to publicly accuse Real pushing Fleur off the cliff instead of Stuart, who actually did it. Later, Real returns to sell his lab and she hugs him. Had been worried about it. It is outraged by the fact that they want to falsely accuse Real. Real and different. He thinks the people in power decide what's wrong and that nobody would believe him since he is a commoner. Deciding to immediately heads of the Agruma region, he promises Cilia it will meet again and departs. When Real leaves he starts crying since she has fallen in love with him. Traveling for 3 days, Real reaches the kingdom of Gala, can arise in a market town. While walking through town, hooded person is following him around. Zing shops for a while. Real buys some dried pasta, barley, cooking implements, and seasonings. Leaving the town, Real continues his journey through a forest. Seeing a seemingly unconscious girl on the ground, he approaches her when she suddenly wakes up and spits a poison arrow him. He kicks away, but his vision starts going blurry from the poison. When the girl stands up, Rio sees she has animal ears, concluding she is obese person. Taking out a knife, the girl declares you will kill him. Real neutralizes the poison with magic and recovers. The girl starts jumping around acrobatically and attacking Real with her knives, but in the end he manages to throw her to the ground and pin her in place. As the girl struggles desperately, makes her fall asleep with a spell to calm her down. He notices she has a collar submission around her neck and gets it off, casting a spell he read about and a book. Before we find out the girl's name is Latif. For Monsieur past, she was riding on the same bus as Ferruto, died in the same accident and got transported to this world. She woke up as a slave of the human our family living in a dungeon, or Stuart would treat her cruelly every day. Back in the present, Lucky for wakes up, we're told her he took off her collar, and she cries with joy. She doesn't know anything about her master's other, and Stuart's name, Real, concludes, is the same Stuart he knows from the Royal Academy and at the House of Human outset Latifah as an assassin to kill him. Topher tells him she will try to kill him anymore. He sets her free. They are currently in the region of Stroll, where beast people are made slaves to. He tells Latif to go east to a place called the Wilderness. In the wilderness, there is a land where obese people and other demi-humans live together in peace. Since he is also going east, the Tivo wants to join him, feeling Rio is in a bad person. When they set up camp one day and Lucky for falls asleep, she starts sleep talking about our parents in Tokyo. Real hears it and realizes she was also transported from Japan to this place, but doesn't say anything as the days pass. The two of them travel for different lands, having many dangers adventures. One night Latifah has made Mares and Real use his spell to stop make or calm down, where he notices their campfire went out. Leaving the hut, he sees a large wolf which suddenly disappears in a flash of bright light which blinds him. He uses his magic as a radar and senses 3 demi-humans to have and final AT fight in their hut, and notice she's been made to sleep using spirit magic. As soon as she hears that the winged girl, called Yuzuma, attacks Real, throwing him on the ground. She believes Rio kidnapped Latifah. Here is chained to a bed guarded by the demi-humans, but Chief runs into his bedroom and throws herself around him. Concern, an old woman with cat ears enters and apologizes for Real. Together with the other demi-human girls, Real accept their apologies, and a green-haired girl, called off via, removes his shackles. The old woman tells and he can stay here and recover. The next morning, you old woman leaves Real through their village, which is covered in nature. The huge tree saw before is called the World Tree, and that is where, dry as a spirit of money trees, resides. The old woman called Ursula leaves Rio and into a conference room where 2 elders, a dwarf called Dominic and an elf called Dora, are waiting for them. The elders apologize for the misunderstanding from before and thank him for free Latifah from slavery. They want to do something for Rio and exchange, so they ask them to let him stay in the village. He also asked them to teach him about the spear arts and a way of life in the village. They happily accept. Suddenly a shining green-haired girl appear floating in the air. She dry as the spirit of the World Tree. Dryas senses the presence of a spirit inside of Real, presuming he has made a contract with it, but Real doesn't remember anything like that. Touching Rio's face, Dry senses an incredible amount of magic energy inside of him. She senses a person, shit spirit, sleeping inside of him. Those kinds of spirits are very rare, belonging to the second highest class of spirits, are even higher off. He leads Real to a house for a latte, for is waiting for him. They sit down with the demi-human girls they already met and he together. After the meal, a white-haired Catral called Sarah tells Real him and Letitia are going to be living with her OFIA and a red-haired called Alma. In the following days, the pupil the village teach Real about the spear arts and teach in combat, or he helps them in their everyday lives. Somewhere else, 2 people arrive a cave riding of Griffin. One of them is the Amber Nasser from Proxy, or called Reese, and the other one is a blonde young man. Ray scars into the cave where the young man waits. Coming out of the cave, Reese brings a large black egg with him, giving it to the young man. Together they leave riding their Griffin. When year passes, Real came to the village at the 90th Grand Spirit Festival. The whole village in Jersey feast. Somewhere else, Reese and the blonde young man rest for the night. Reese gives the other man or redstone to swallow, telling him it will allow him to know where he is. Reese goes out to investigate the area, leaving the young man to guard the egg. Leaving reason as a flight of wyverns is coming for the egg. Hey, thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you enjoy the video, given a like, it takes only second, but at me and everything to us. Have a great day and see you in the next video.